Just finished playing Spider-Man 2, and dude, honestly, I'm just completely lost for words. This game, bro, this freaking video game. Oh my god. I did not expect that game to be as good as it was, but it was, dude. And it delivered. This game absolutely delivered. I never played. I played a little bit of Miles Morales. I never finished the game, but I played a little bit of Miles Morales before Spider-Man 2. And I bought Spider-Man 2 the morning, like, launch day. I usually buy games at like midnight and then play it at midnight, but for Spider-Man 2, I did want to do that, but I was just a little bit tired, and I guess I just waited until the next morning. But dude, this game, dude, this freaking video game, absolutely amazing. I'm just like, after I beat the game, I was lost for words, because it was just, I never really played a game like it. Like, I never really played a game like Spider-Man before. It was so good. The story was amazing. It was engaging. It was intriguing. The gameplay itself was fun too. It's not like the game was carried by story like a lot of other like story-based games like The Last of Us, or I'm not gonna say God of War, because God of War has good gameplay, but you know what I mean. Like, a lot of story like driven games like are heavily carried by story instead of like gameplay. But it feels like this game is the best of two worlds. Like, it has the story and it has the gameplay. Phenomenal, just like absolutely phenomenal. The first thing I want to talk about is like the plot of the game, right? Like, obviously no spoilers, but like obviously the plot of the game is like it's phenomenal. Like, it feels like this story is much more ambitious than Miles Morales' story, or the original Spider-Man, the Spider-Man on the PS4 story. I know I said I haven't played the original Spider-Man, but I do know like the story of that game, and the story for Spider-Man 2 just feels a lot more ambitious. It's a lot more engaging and intriguing than in the previous game, than in Spider-Man PS4 or Miles Morales. It just feels like this game wanted to like accomplish so much more. Like, the scope of this game is drastically wider, drastically bigger than the scope of like Miles Morales or Spider-Man PS4. That's what it feels like. And not only that too, but just like all the emotions that I felt while playing the story was just like, it was like this game story, Spider-Man 2 stories, like, it made me feel like so many different, like, there were times where I felt happy, like joyful, like alive, and there were other times where I was like depressed and like sad and emotional. There were other times where I was like anxious and nervous. It's just like this game has like the full package. So like, it includes everything. There are emotional sequences in the game, emotional like conversations and cutscenes, and it's just like it's incredible. It's incredible. And part of the reason why like the story is so like engaging and it's so intriguing is like because of like the characters and like the way they were written and their dialogue, and the VAs in this game too. I don't know any other VA in Spider-Man 2 other than Peter's VA. I think his first name's Yuri. I don't know his last name, but I know his first name's Yuri. But Yuri does a fantastic job as Peter. Like, he has that Peter Parker voice, but like, no, when he has to like turn it to like a more aggressive tone when he gets the symbiote, like, you could tell, bro. Like, he's so much more like, the raspiness in his voice, it's just like perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And not only like Peter's VA too, but like Miles's VA was great, MJ's was great, Harry's was great. Venom in this game, I don't want to talk about Venom too much, because like that's getting into spoiler territory, but like the Venom VA, who I think was the same voice actor, or like the same actor who played Candyman, he did a phenomenal job as Venom. It really made Venom feel like an actual like threat. His voice didn't feel like goofy in any way. It didn't feel off. Like, it felt like it was a perfect match. It was threatening. It was intimidating. It was fantastic job from really every VA in this game. It was stupendous. The story segments in this game too, like, obviously this game has like story beats, right? So like, you hit a beat in the story, and then you go to the next beat, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, until obviously you reach the end of the game. And it felt like every story segment in this game, every story beat was like just like the right amount of like length. Like, no story beat felt too short or too long. Like, it was like perfect. Like it was all perfect. And I know I talked about the characters a little bit earlier when I was like discussing the VAs, but I want to talk about the characters again. I think every character in this game was phenomenal. I do think there were a couple characters that like I wish got a little bit more screen time. Like, I kind of wish Genki got a little bit more screen time and was a little bit more involved in the plot. I wish Rio, Miles' mom, was a little bit more involved in the plot. It felt like on Miles' like side of the story, because obviously like this story like diverts. Like at the beginning of the game, Miles and Peter are like they very much work together. So like the story doesn't really separate, but there is at some point in the story where like it starts like dividing. So there's a plot A and then there's a plot B, and plot A is like Peter and plot B is Miles. And they kind of go on their own like separate paths at some point in the story. And it just felt like on Miles' side, like it felt like some of the characters on Miles' side like kind of lacked in like, I guess just like screen time in general. Like I wish Rio got a little bit more screen time. I wish Genki got a little more screen time. I wish Haley got a little bit of more screen time. Like there were characters on Miles, and obviously you had your characters that did get the proper amount of screen time, but there were just a lot that just felt like they were underutilized, and I wish they just played a little bit of a bigger role in his story, because obviously Miles' story is very emotional and ties very much to like his family and his friends. So I kind of wish that his actual family and his actual friends played a little bit of a bigger role, just to sell the emotion a little bit more. I think Peter's side of the story is great. I really don't think there was any underutilized character. I think every character on Peter's side. I honestly think like Peter's story, I don't really want to say like Miles' story and Peter's story, because even though they might have separated at some point in the story, they do still feel like they're leading up to the same thing. But it definitely did feel like, Peter's side of the story definitely felt, I guess, it was a little bit more intriguing, especially because like he was the one with the symbiote. And obviously the main plot of the game is obviously Peter and Harry like working together to quote unquote heal the world and stuff like that. And obviously like Peter gets the symbiote. That's not a spoiler because like Peter has his symbiote in the trailers, but like it definitely feels like Peter's story like just plays like a bigger role in like the main plot of the game. So it would make more sense if like all the characters on that side of the story were a little bit more fleshed out and got a little bit more screen time. Because it does definitely feel like Peter is like plot A. Like how like, let's like for example, like let's say you're watching a cartoon episode and you have like plot A, and not even a cartoon. Like imagine you're watching like a Disney Channel show, right? Like obviously like most of the time like the formula for a Disney Channel like episode is like you have like plot A, which is like the main plot of the story, right? And then you have like plot B, which is like it's not like the main plot, but it's just like a separate plot to I don't know, like stimulate the audience, I don't know, to make sure things don't get boring. But anyway, it kind of felt like that with this game. Obviously it's not like as bare bones as that. Like Miles still has a good story. Like I'm not trying to devalue Miles' story in any way. I still think his story is perfect. I love the emotional ties that his story had, especially linking to events of past games like his father's death and Finn's death. I like the fact that this game addresses events from past games, because it makes it feel like the games are like really connected with each other. So I really like the fact that Miles' story does have emotional ties to previous events. I do really like Miles' story, but like looking at things objectively, Peter's like story definitely feels like plot A, like main plot, and then Miles' story feels like plot B, where it's not playing as big of a role in the main plot as Peter's side of the story. And then obviously you have Kraven, and I think Kraven was great. Definitely a threatening villain. I definitely felt intimidated by him throughout the story. I do think that like when he made his final appearance, right? I don't want to give out any spoilers, but like his final appearance felt very like anticlimactic. Like it felt like the game was building him up to be like pretty much the main villain of the game, like the main antagonist. And it felt like his final appearance felt very, very anticlimactic for how much they were really building up his character. I don't want to go like any deeper into that, because then I would be stepping into spoiler territory, but it definitely just did feel like Kraven, like a great villain, built up, and then he makes his final appearance and it just felt so anticlimactic. And it was just like it was a little bit disappointing, if I'm not gonna lie. But I guess at the end of the day, like he isn't the I don't know. I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to dive into spoilers, but like if you know. But I mean, other than that, I think every character is great. I think Harry was a great character. I thought they portrayed Harry very well with his characterization and his dialogue and his motives. I think MJ was also great too. I liked MJ's and Peter's like dynamic in their relationship with each other. I thought it was very interesting, especially when we get towards the end. I think like the end, it gets really interesting with their with their relationship and their dynamic. Really enjoyed that. And then obviously, to step away from the story, because I know I've been talking about the story for a minute now, I want to get into like the actual gameplay of the game, right? Like, how does the game feel? Because obviously story is just one side to this game, but the reason why you play a game is for the gameplay, right? So let's just talk about the gameplay. Now, first things first is the combat. Now, I think the combat in this game is really fun. It's action-packed, it's fast-paced. There are a wide variety of like flashy moves that you can do and like abilities that you could chain together. There are a ton of like abilities to unlock too. It's just like, I just think like and like obviously it feels like the combat is just like very fleshed out, like it really just feels like, it's not simplistic. It feels like complex, and like it's not necessarily hard, but like there are a lot of like things that you can do, combos that you can chain, moves that you could perform. Obviously, like you could dodge. I like the parry mechanic because like it kind of increases the skill ceiling, and it allows players to like either play aggressively, like you can like when an attack is coming at you, you can either parry or you could dodge, which kind of like plays into like the strategical element of the game. Like you can either be aggressive or passive. I also like the focus bar too. It also plays into like the strategical like elements of the game, because the focus bar basically allows you to do two things in this game. It allows you to heal, or it allows you to do a finisher and take an enemy out. And it makes it so that like the player has to decide like mid-combat whether they want to play more offense and use a finisher, or play more defense and heal. So I really like the amount of strategy the focus bar brings, because it makes the player have to like actually think, and it makes it so that combat isn't so straightforward. Like you have some say in like what you do. And speaking of finishers, all the finishers in this game, I don't think I even have to say it, it's pretty obvious, but all the finishers in this game, super satisfying. Everything, like all of them are incredibly well done. The camera work on all of them is great. It really feels like when you like perform a finisher on an enemy, like you're really like taking them out. There are some finishers that feel like a little lackluster, but there are a lot of them that are just crazy, like just crazy good. And like sometimes like when I would see a new finisher, I would have to pause the game just for a second, just to like process, because it was so damn cool. I definitely think Miles has like better finishers than Peter. It feels, because Miles is like naturally more agile and I guess a little bit more athletic than Peter. It does allow like the development team to like get a little bit more creative with Miles's finishers, and I think because of that, as a result, his finishers are just naturally more flashy, more creative, and just in general better. And I'm not saying Peter doesn't have good finishers, but compared to Miles, like Peter just doesn't have the flashiness to his finishers, and Miles does. So that's why I really just like Miles's finishers much better than Peter's. But what about the swinging, right? How does the swinging work? Now, if you've played the original Spider-Man and if you played Miles Morales, then you're probably really familiar with the swinging, and it's not really like, it's not that different, right? Like the swinging is going to be the same throughout every single game. It's not going to change drastically. The only drastic change to the swinging in Spider-Man 2 specifically is the addition of the web wings. I really do like the web wings in this game. I think it spices up the web swinging a little bit, and the way it's integrated into the gameplay, I think it's really well done. By itself, it may be a bit basic, but it does feel very good to use, and it rewards the player for building momentum by allowing them to traverse at high speeds for a longer amount of time. So if you're going really fast while web swinging, and then you gain a little bit of height, you could you could use your web wings, and then you could keep that momentum for a longer period of time, rather than like having to keep swinging and having to keep your momentum between like every swing. And it's also nice that the city features like slipstreams and updrafts around the map, so it allows like the web wings to be further utilized, letting players like cover extra ground and gain height with ease. However, this doesn't hinder the swinging skill ceiling, because like since slipstreams are very like linear and don't allow for much free navigation, but like it's not like I could go into a slipstream and then go anywhere on the map. Like if I'm going into a slipstream, yeah, I'm going fast, but like you're on rails, so you can't like freely traverse like you would if you're regularly swinging or like just regularly using the web wings. So I do think the web wings integrated into the game very well. It rewards the player for building momentum, and it's not broken either. It's a little bit basic, but overall I think it's good. It spices up the web swinging a little bit, and overall it's very, very fun and very, very satisfying to use. And obviously the swinging, if you've played the other two Spider-Man game, then you already know how the swinging is. It's fun, it's engaging, it features many tricks that you can use, so like every swing session like feels different from the last, and it's also exhilarating, and the mechanic allows for like high skill ceilings because like it forces players to build momentum like by themselves. So it's not like you can hold a button and then just like stay the same speed the whole time. You kind of have to build up your speed. You have to gain your speed by yourself. It's not given to you, which I really, really like that. And then obviously set pieces are a really big and important aspect of gameplay, because yes, while actual gameplay is important, like the set pieces, the places they actually use the gameplay is important as well. And I think every single set piece in this game is absolutely well done. I think it all looks fantastic. I think it all fits the environment well. I never thought there was a set piece that felt too flat or like felt too basic. I think every set piece fits the environment, fits the gameplay well. So I just think every set piece was great. Every set piece looked brilliant. Like obviously like when you're climbing through like vents and stuff, or when you're just like climbing through like fire or like grassy buildings, it really, like every single set piece felt like, really immersive, and it felt really well done, and it felt like there was a lot of detail put into those set pieces. So the set pieces in this game are absolutely amazing, and I really loved every single one of them. I think every single set piece in this game is well done and just really utilized super, super well. There's a lot of detail put into them, and yeah, just very good overall. And the visuals in this game, like you're on the PS5, right? It's gonna look good no matter what. Now obviously you have like two different modes that you can use when you're playing Spider-Man. So there's fidelity mode and then there's performance mode. And fidelity basically like maxes out like the graphics in the game. So like you have like ray tracing, the city's more alive with more civilians, and there's more cars, and like in general like the game just like maxes out how it looks. However, it takes away from your frame rate, so you're basically locked at 30 FPS. Or you could do performance mode where there's no ray tracing. The city's a little bit more empty, but in exchange you get 60 FPS. You get to play at 60 FPS. Now I played on performance mode because I just really like the smoothness that 60 FPS gives, and I don't really think the ray tracing is like really makes that big of a difference. Like it's good, yeah, but like it's not like when I'm swinging through the city and like I'm fighting, I'm gonna be noticing the ray tracing too much, right? Like it's not that big of a deal. I'd rather have smoother gameplay rather than like a little bit better looks. And like the city, even at performance mode, still feels live and still feels like there's people and civilians that live in it. So personally, I think performance mode is better than fidelity. But that's just me. Maybe some people like ray tracing and really like the liveliness of the city and fidelity and don't really care about the 60 FPS. I personally care about the 60 FPS because if I'm paying $500 for a next, I guess not next gen at this point, but just like for a current gen console, I want like 60 FPS. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to play games at 60 FPS. I don't want to play at 30. But, like it varies between people. Some people like fidelity, some people like performance. It is what it is. And then obviously the music in this game is super well done. I think there's music that fits every single mood and every single set piece in this game. The music when you're just swinging around in the open world is really well done. I really like the music. Just when you're just casually swinging, it's heroic. It's lively. It really makes me feel like I'm Spider-Man, Then you have like combat music and like just action music in general, and then you like all that is really, really good. I like the action music and I like the combat music a lot, especially towards the end of the game when like stakes are higher than ever. When you're in combat at the end of the game, like there's some music that's insane, and like it really makes it feel like the stakes are high, and it's now or never, like it's do or die. So I really like the music, especially towards the end of the game, because it really like gets to a point where like it's crazy, and it really makes you feel like you're getting towards the end, and stakes are higher than ever. And then obviously you just have like your regular music, like when you're walking around, as Peter Parker, like not even as Spider-Man, but when you're walking around just as base Peter Parker. It really makes it's just like all the music in this game. There's music that fits like every single, like every scene, every mood, every set piece. Music in this game was absolutely phenomenal. No complaints from that. And the side missions in Spider-Man 2 is just like every single side mission in Spider-Man just feels like like they're all like super engaging. Like sometimes you're gonna get a side mission that's like, you know, like it's just a side mission, like you do this one thing and then you get XP, or like maybe you get like a tech part or something, and like, you know, like there are some side missions that like you really don't care about, you're just doing it just to get a reward. But there are some side missions that are like genuinely engaging, because these side missions like include dialogue from civilians. Sometimes they even have like cutscenes with them too. Like it really feels like some of these side missions, like some of them feel like main missions. Like sometimes it felt like even when I was doing a side mission, it felt like I was doing a main mission just by how polished it seemed, and just by like the dialogue, and just by like the detail put into like the side missions like plot and its like mini story. So I really like all the side missions in this game. I think they're all really well done. And like I said, there's gonna be some side missions here and there that are just like, you know, you're indifferent, but there are a couple of side missions that are like, wow, like this is interesting, this feels like main plot material, even though it's not main plot, it's side content. So I like the side missions in this game, I really do. I think the last thing I just want to say is just there is one, like, not necessarily a problem, but if I had to fault this game for something, it would definitely, like, it felt like there were a lot of bugs in this game. And obviously this game just came out, right? So like you can't expect the game to run like perfect, like no bugs at all. But I did get a couple like bugs in the game where like it soft locked my game, and I would have to restart from my last checkpoint from the pause menu in order to fix it. Like I can't really like talk about any of these bugs because a lot of these bugs appeared around the end of my playthrough, but there were a couple bugs where it's like there was one bug actually at the beginning of my playthrough that I can talk about now. It's only like an hour, like a couple hours into the game, so it's not really a spoiler. But I was fighting on this like raft boat, and there was one enemy left that I had to take out, but the enemy was outside of the combat range, so I couldn't get to that enemy. It was outside of, like, if I tried to go to the enemy, the game would force me to go back to the combat zone. So there was just one enemy floating out there that was stopping me from progressing through the game, and I couldn't get to them. So it soft locked me there. There was another time later in the game that I got soft locked and I had to restart from last checkpoint. There were multiple times where I got soft locked and I had to restart from my last checkpoint. So not really sure what the deal was. Obviously there's gonna be bugs in the, and like none of these bugs are like game breaking. Like, yeah, sure, you might have to restart from the last checkpoint, but you're only gonna lose like 10 seconds from that, like maybe at most a minute. So it's not like they're bugs that are super tedious, but it's definitely like they could be polished out, right? So I did notice there were some bugs in the game. It's definitely not perfect, but I wouldn't say there are any bugs in this game that ruin the experience. Just a couple that, you know, you may have to restart from your last checkpoint, and you may lose like a minute or two of progress. So it's not really that big of a deal. Overall, this game is fantastic. Wow, just like really, I'm lost for words. It's just absolutely incredible game. Insomniac did it again. I really have to play the first Spider-Man game because a lot of people are like saying that the first while this game was good, it doesn't beat the first Spider-Man. And I thought this game here was like fantastic, just like absolutely incredible. So if the first Spider-Man is even like close to that level of quality, or maybe even better, then the first Spider-Man is a hell of a game. But nah, dude, it's just I'm so excited to see where Insomniac go from here with Spider-Man. I don't think they're done yet. I think they obviously like maybe have a couple more Spider-Man titles in them. Obviously they can't go forever, but I don't think this is the end. I think they've got a couple more titles coming. Spider-Man titles. I don't know if they're gonna make a Spider-Man, a Miles Morales 2, but we're definitely getting a Spider-Man 3 at some point. But nah, this game was absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't say it's game of the year because I do think that still goes to Tears of the Kingdom, but very close second, I will say. Very close second. You had me debating there for a minute after I beat the game, like, wow, is this game, like, does this game beat Tears of the Kingdom? And I do think it still does beat Tears of the Kingdom, because while Tears of the Kingdom doesn't have that story aspect that this game did, it's just the gameplay and the open world of Tears of the Kingdom. It's just like, it's so good. Like, that game offers so much content. There's so many things to do in that game. And it's like this, like, Spider-Man 2, while yes, there's a lot of things to do in Spider-Man 2, you can 100% Spider-Man 2 in like 20-25 hours. Tears of the Kingdom takes like 60-70 hours to beat the main story, let alone 100% it. So it's just like Tears of the Kingdom just has that much content in it, which is why, and the gameplay too, I think, of Tears of the Kingdom is still super well done and super well made. So I do think it edges out based on that. But Spider-Man 2 is a very, very close second. I wouldn't be surprised, like if you said Spider-Man 2 was your game of the year, I wouldn't really, like, I would fight you on it, but like it's respectable. You know, like if I went up to you and I asked you what your game of the year was and you said Spider-Man 2, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like that's respect. I respect that. I personally think Tears of the Kingdom is game of the year, but I respect that opinion. Like if you think Spider-Man 2 is game of the year, I'm down for that. And obviously, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Spider-Man 2 does win game of the year. I do think Tears of the Kingdom is better, and I do want Tears of the Kingdom to win game of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm sitting there in December and whoever's announcing game of the year says Marvel Spider-Man 2, because it is a really, really good game. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all later. I am out. Peace.